Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. We just, for people just joining us, we did a huge deep dive into the latest with the Arkansas coaching search. And we certainly have quite a bit of conversation in the chat. So producer Matt, you can pop up anything interesting or relevant. Luke. So Luke, this is great. Okay. So obviously this was something that I did not discuss during just the updates. Petrino. So we talked about this on Sunday's reaction. What is Bobby Petrino? Because I thought, the most interesting thing about that Hunter Yurachek press release was that, and his statement was that, he said it's going to be a national search that absolutely includes Bobby Petrino. There is no doubt that Bobby Petrino has publicly said now that he wants the job. And so the conversation became, what does Bobby Petrino have to do to get the job? I think Luke sets the bar. Right now, Arkansas through 5 games is currently 2-3. I'm not great at math, but 4-3, Luke says, if Petrino's job is to go 4-3, he'd have to have 2 wins over currently ranked teams, Texas A&M, Tennessee, LSU, Texas, and Missouri. All right, so we did not talk about the Bobby Petrino aspect of it, but I think, and I did say this, I think you get to 4-3, I think it's hard to argue that he shouldn't be the head coach because it's here's the rest of the schedule. So Arkansas is on a bye this week. They play at Tennessee out of the bye, then Texas A&M at home, as Luke says, currently a top 10 team, Auburn at home, Mississippi State at home. So 3 of the first 4 are at home. Texas A&M is no longer, by the way, in Dallas. It is now a true home and home. Final 3, at LSU, at Texas, Missouri at home. And so Luke's point is 1,000% accurate, is that I do think probably 4-4, listen, would, 4-3, excuse me, with 3-4, I don't know, because then you're still not bowl eligible. And so I don't know. But I think 4-3 bowl eligible gets the job, because as Luke says, if you go 4-3, that means you have some wins over really good teams. And what I will say is this, is if you've watched Arkansas, listen, the Notre Dame game was a debacle. And I don't want to absolve Bobby Petrino from any blame, because the offense was not good against Notre Dame. But the offense should have gotten them wins at Ole Miss and at Memphis. And so I'll just say this. I don't know that there's a great team in the SEC this year. I would actually argue maybe the 2 best teams that I've seen are Oklahoma and Alabama. Maybe Georgia would be 3. Why do I bring it up? None of those 3 are on Arkansas' schedule. And so you look at the teams that they would have to beat. Yeah, Tennessee is going to be tough at Tennessee. LSU is not good right now. And you talk about a program that could go sideways. LSU lost that game. I will tell you this, because I am the only one that's publicly criticizing Garrett Nussmeier. You know who is more upset with Garrett Nussmeier than anybody? LSU fans. They want him benched for Michael Van Buren. And so all of a sudden, you get to November, they'll have already at that point played Alabama. They'll have already played A&M. Vandy is a good team. And so I just bring it up because, to me, there are wins on this schedule. I know at LSU is a tough place to play. I know that Texas is a tough place to play. Those are not great football teams right now. Now, Texas coming off of a bye, we'll see. The only point I'm trying to make is Arkansas should have won at Ole Miss. Could have won at Ole Miss at the very least. If you can win at Ole Miss, I'm sorry, you can beat Texas. You can beat LSU. I know they're on the road. And then on top of it, to Luke's point, you get A&M at home. A&M did not look unbeatable against Auburn the other day, right? Missouri, we'll see. Their toughest games are ahead. So there's potential. But Bobby Petrino's got to do it. 4-3, I think, keeps him the job, but you got to get there. What's next, Matt? Tamara, great listener. We always appreciate your support, Tamara. Hunter Yurachek needs to get out. Listen, I don't speak for other fan bases. I don't speak for my own alma mater, UConn. I think I think Tamara, and I hope I'm saying your name right, Tamara. I think your message has about a 99.9% approval rating in the state of Arkansas right now. The only people who disapprove of Tamara's message probably have the last name Yurachek. Listen, I said it last week or 2 weeks ago. We did the whole segment. I think it was in the lead up to the Memphis game. Hunter Yurachek, the AD, spoke at the Little Rock Touchdown Club and acknowledged we are not built to win at the highest level of college football right now. Well, why not? Whose fault is that? Who does that fall on? Oh, I know who that falls on. You. If you're not built to win at this level, that falls on the AD. And I go back to what I said Sunday, because again, there's this conversation about what is the Arkansas coaching job. Well, I'll keep going back to what I said. If Ole Miss is built to win, Ole Miss is going to win 10 games again this year. Look at their schedule. Ole Miss is going to win 9-10 games. They're going to be in the playoff conversation again, maybe win more. And so if Ole Miss is built to win in this era, why can't Arkansas be? If Missouri is built to win in this era, why can't Arkansas be? Tennessee, I know, has had more success in the SEC, but, look at the demographics. Similar, maybe Tennessee's a little bit of an outlier, but the only point I'm trying to make, nobody is saying that you have to be Georgia tomorrow. But your AD also can't publicly say two things at the same time. We're not built to win championships in football, but I'm also the right guy to hire the next head coach, because one, you're not the right guy to hire the next head coach, but two, if I was a candidate, I would be a little bit worried about coming to work for you. And so that's an internal Arkansas thing to figure out. I don't have the answers to how that happens. Also, Tamara says just call her Tammy. So Tammy's got 100% approval rating, 99.9% approval rating. But the point is you can't say that I'm the right person for the job while conversely saying that we are not built to win right now. Thank you, Tammy, for the comment. All right, let's keep it going. Any other questions or comments, Matt? Jones doesn't like SMU being the talk of the. This is a nice little, can we call it a galaxy brain twist? Pull up Shorty, because we referenced earlier, for people who are just joining us, that Bruce Feldman from The Athletic reported, and it got out, so I'm not sharing stuff that's exclusively behind a paywall, but that Jerry Jones is the one that's publicly pushing for Rhett Lashley to be the head coach at Arkansas. And Pull Up Shorty says Jerry doesn't like SMU being the talk of the town in Dallas instead of the Cowboys. Well, I'll say this. Watch the Cowboys Sunday night game, and I've seen a couple SMU games. I think it's safe to say it's still probably a Cowboys town. I did think about this, though. One, by the way, Rhett Lashley does not have a 100% approval rating in the Arkansas fan base because of what happened the last time Arkansas hired an SMU head coach. Now, I will say, I think it's a little bit different hiring an SMU head coach from the AAC at the time, now the American, versus the ACC, which in theory is a power conference program. But I was thinking, I'm not smart enough to know about the power dynamics in the city of Dallas, but I do think it would kind of piss a couple people off if Jerry's the one that's publicly pushing for, the most successful SMU coach since Ron Meyer or Bobby Collins to leave to take the Arkansas job. So, we'll see how much Jerry is involved. He's obviously got a lot on his hands on a day-to-day basis. And I'll let Arkansas fans tell me how much he's actually been involved. I think there's a lot of people that are a lot less famous than Jerry Jones that are actually more involved with Arkansas. I think part of it is Jerry lives in Dallas. I know it's not a far drive, but I don't know that Jerry is as involved as I think maybe people think. But good, I like that conspiracy theory from Pull Up Shorty. Jerry Jones doesn't like that SMU is getting any pub in Dallas. Don't know that I'm quite there yet, but it's an interesting theory. Get to a couple more questions. Let's do it, Matt. We got plenty of time. It's a Tuesday. Okay, Josh Weaver, you are my spirit animal. Josh Weaver, email me your address, Aaron Torres podcast questions @gmail.com. We are getting you a Big Pig Invasion shirt because Josh Weaver is saying what Torres is saying, give me Gruden or give me death. Listen, I love it. And here's the thing. None of these guys are guaranteed to work. None of them. It doesn't matter who it is. By the way, no coach is. Look at Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. Like that hire had 110% approval rating on a scale of 100. Okay. And so this notion that any hire is 100% safe, I don't buy. There is only one hire, though, that I'm aware of that makes you nationally relevant the moment you make the hire and makes you nationally relevant every time you walk out of the tunnel. It's John freaking Gruden. It's funny. I was thinking about this. Remember, Belichick got the job at North Carolina. And by the way, I'm not comparing him to Bill Belichick because I think there'd be a lot more positivity. We'll get to that in half a second. But Belichick got the North Carolina job and kept doing media. I was thinking about this. I was working out on Monday morning, and Gruden was on that new Barstool morning show on FS1. I don't know a lot about it, but Gruden was on it. Now imagine Gruden taking the Arkansas job and still doing that show, every Monday morning or whatever. And here's the thing about Gruden. Listen, I know you're giving Bobby Petrino a fair chance, so I know you can't really hire Gruden now, but you can certainly meet with him now. And let's say worst case scenario, and I'm not rooting for this, but what if Bobby Petrino starts 0-3? You can have Gruden in town on the job, November 1st. I said this a couple days ago. I forget which. We've done so much Arkansas content the last couple days, but I said this the other day. I said, look, I said, what did I say? I said, UConn, my alma mater. Okay, we don't have to talk about UConn football, but when they fired Randy Edsall in 2022, I think 2021, whatever, Jim Mora was out of coaching. He was hired in late October, early November, and he came to Connecticut and took the job and evaluated the program during the season. So he sat in on practices. He traveled with the team to games. He didn't coach, but he wanted to see what he had, what he didn't have, how things worked, and his whole staff was ready to go the day the season ended. You could hire John Gruden today, and it's not going to happen because they want to give Bobby Petrino a fair shot. But let's say Bobby Petrino starts 0-3, which is in the cards. It could happen. You can hire John Gruden, and he can start putting a staff together. But again, he makes you nationally relevant. The second you hire him, it becomes the biggest story in sports. The second you hire him, HBO wants to do their college hard knocks. They couldn't do it with North Carolina. They're going to do it with Arkansas next year. Whatever, behind the scenes stuff. I'm just telling you, it would create so much interest. And again, Gruden is not Bill Belichick. Okay. So I want to be careful about this. I understand Bill Belichick came from the NFL. Bill Belichick has no personality, can't recruit. Sport left him behind. Gruden, I don't know if he can win, but he's going to recruit. He's going to create interest. He's going to create buzz. And I think, we'll see where the rest takes us. So Josh, you're my spirit animal, brother, because give me Gruden or give me death is what Josh Weaver says. Matt, one or two more, then we'll get to the rest of the show. Justin says Dan Mullen would be a great choice, dude. Okay. No punctuation there. So I thought you were saying great choice, dude, like Torres. Dan Mullen would be a great choice. Dude is a proven winner, built up a dumpster fire similar to us at Mississippi State, was 34-17 at Florida until they fired him for BS reasons. Justin, I tend to agree with you. Let me put it this way. If I was handicapping this job, I think Dan Mullen is, Gruden's there too. But Dan Mullen is probably the guy that out of everyone that's available would 100% take this job. I feel very confident saying, and I have to look closer into what his buyout structure is at UNLV. By the way, if UNLV did not sign him to some contract where they're going to get a ton of money if he ends up leaving for another job, that's on UNLV. But I tend to agree with Justin, is that I think we can now look at the Dan Mullen era at Florida a little bit different. Let's see here. According to producer Matt, if Dan Mullen leaves UNLV for a Power 4 job or NFL job before December 2025, he owes the school a $7 million buyout. But is that December 1st or is it December 31st? There's a huge difference in those two dates. And oh, by the way, I would also add this. With the portal not opening now until January, you can stay at UNLV until 12:01 Eastern time on this January 1st. By the way, shout out to Dan Mullen's agent because the buyout drops December 1st. So that's just bad negotiation for UNLV. It should be December 15th. It should be December 31st. We talked about Curt Cignetti last week. Curt Cignetti's buyout drops December 15th. So basically, a lot of these coaches, a lot of these ADs want to have coaches in place by the first week the season ends. So Curt Cignetti, you would have to wait a few weeks until after the season to hire him. You don't have to with Dan Mullen. December 1st, that's terrible negotiation from the AD. Great news for Arkansas. And as Justin says, I think there's no doubt in my mind that there's some revisionist history on Dan Mullen. Listen, at the time, it felt like to me okay, maybe he stopped recruiting a little bit and maybe the program was going in the wrong direction. But as Justin says, excuse me, 34-17 at Florida. And, besides the fact that he proved that he could win at Mississippi State, a bottom tier program in the SEC, 34-17 looks a lot different now than it did back then. He was fired after the 2021 season. That year they did go 6-6. He did get fired before the Florida State game to go 6-6, but Billy Napier, has not been very much better. 6-7 in year one for Billy Napier. Let's see here, 5-7 in year two. I'm not going to go through the whole Billy Napier thing, but I think in hindsight, it's very clear that Dan Mullen was a lot better at Florida than he was being given credit for. And again, I do agree with Justin's sentiment. Is like, I think you could do a lot worse than Dan Mullen. Matt, do we have one more, and then maybe we'll take a break and wrap the show? Okay, Jamie. Gruden has the passion, the clout, and the football mind to succeed in the SEC. Jamie, this is such an important part. This last part, you don't get many opportunities to make a hire like this. Totally unique setup. Remember, Gruden is a Super Bowl winning head coach. I think the important thing, he's a larger than life personality. He is a larger than life personality. And he is the type of guy that creates so much interest. And it's this totally unique window where you have a chance to hire him. He's young enough where he could do the job for 7-8 years. It's kind of this pro world that we're going to. But then on top of it, he's not going to get hired by the NFL. He's in the middle of a lawsuit with the NFL. He's not leaving for the NFL. If you hire him for an SEC job, it's not like he's taking another job, and he wants to coach. It's not like you're hiring him out of retirement and he's looking for something to do. He wants to coach. He wants to get back in it. I've said, and I've said this a few times, Dave Portnoy, the founder of Barstool, who hired John Gruden at Barstool, said, I expect him to be coaching again soon. And by the way, I'll say this, listen, I'm supportive of other, media companies and media outlets. You now get the Barstool machine behind you if you hire John Gruden. I don't know what Game Day looks like or whatever, and I know they're affiliated with Fox, which isn't part of the SEC, but all of a sudden you got all those Barstool people wearing Arkansas gear and Arkansas hats. Jamie's point is so well taken. You don't get many opportunities like this to make a hire. You don't get many opportunities to make a hire like this. I love it, Jamie. I absolutely love it.